Live from WTOC, the Southeast News Leader. The News at 7 starts now.
Tonight on B News at 7, continuing coverage on a deadly hit-and-run accident in Jasper County. WTOC has the latest on the arrest made in connection to what happened. Plus, Hilton Head Island has released their 2023 fire report. We're breaking down the numbers and have reaction from firefighters. But first, we start with some breaking news. Thanks for joining us for the News at 7. I'm Dawn Baker. WTOC is waiting on an update from Savannah Police following a big police presence right now at West 37th Street Connector. Our Lindsay Stinger is live there. Lindsay, what have you seen? We know they're trying to clean it up a little bit now.
So, Dawn, yeah, there is a bit of a, there's not so much a presence now, but within the last 10 minutes is when they took that car away that we were looking at earlier. And what we were looking at is there was a blue car with a few bullet holes. That's where the detectives were taking photos around the car and in the car. And in the last 10 minutes, like I said, they were able to take down that police tape as well as remove that car. But when we first got here, which was just after 6 o'clock, there was someone on the ground and they were administering CPR. At least that's what they looked like they were doing. Then shortly after, he was taken away, or they were taken away rather, in a ambulance and taken to a hospital. And that's really all that we know now. We have been reaching out to SPD, waiting for that update to find out if there is more in this case, and stick with WTOC for any updates.
Yeah, that was quite the traffic mess on that side of town, and we are tracking even more currently in Effingham County. Still 21 northbound shut down due to a wreck. You can see that semi overturned with a car in a ditch on its side. They had to take that person, the driver of the car, to the hospital. Southbound lanes not that bad because you can take Ron Station Road to McCall Road to Blue Jay, but northbound is still shut down as Effingham County Sheriff's deputies investigate this crash. We've also been following and didn't have a lot of information on 95 crawling from Liberty County into Richmond Hill. Finally got some information for you, and it's still pretty bad heading northbound on 95 into Bryan County. A fifth wheel camper jackknifed on the interstate, and a big crane had to take the camper and the truck away, so it's still blocking a little bit of traffic at this time.
All right, thanks a lot, Jamie. A WTOC update for you. A woman is currently facing charges after shots were fired in Port Royal, South Carolina. After investigating, police identified the suspect as 34-year-old LaShara Green. They arrested and charged her with several charges, including attempted murder, aggravated breach of peace, and another gun charge. If you have any information that could help officers with this case, please call police right away. Well, it happened on yesterday afternoon at the Port Royal apartments. Police say when officers got to the scene, they got another call of a theft in the Azalea Square subdivision. Then they determined both crimes were related. Today in South Carolina, we're continuing our coverage after an arrest in a deadly hit and run. South Carolina Highway Patrol says they arrested a Ridgeland man, Joshua Frazier, in connection to the incident that killed the tow truck operator Eric P.K. Albertson late in December. Today, the towing company that Albertson worked for has a message for drivers. Our Ryan Tismaneski has the story.
The team at A1 Towing are thankful that an arrest has been made, but say Albertson's death could have been prevented if drivers do what they're supposed to do. Stay alert, slow down, and move over if you see the flashing lights of a tow truck on the side of the road. One of the company's owners said A1 Towing does all they can to keep tow operators safe on the roadway, but need drivers to help too. Tow truckers are no strangers to close calls.
Even recently, we had an employee that saw a vehicle oncoming, not moving over. It was an RV on the interstate. Had he not jumped to safety, he would have probably been hit by that RV. As they rode by, he saw the driver on their cell phone.
Davids says tow truckers tend to be the unsung heroes when drivers run into trouble on the roads.
So they really are in a class of first responders, and they're putting their lives at risk to help stranded motorists, oftentimes with their families, to remove them from harm's way and to get them to a safe place.
Other first responders agree. South Carolina Highway Patrol says working hand in hand with tow truck operators and construction workers is an important relationship. When tow truckers can work safely, they can work quickly, getting damaged cars off the road and preventing more collisions by getting traffic moving.
They are very important when it comes to roadway safety. tow truck operators as far as getting vehicles out of the road, getting someone that's broke down out of the road. And then construction workers, they're building more infrastructure and safer and bigger roadways for us.
You can find our coverage of when the hit and run first happened on WTOC.com. Reporting from Jasper County, Ryan Tismaneski, WTOC News.
Well, let's take a live look outside from the WTOC Plant Riverside District. The threat of severe weather is expected to make its way in the coastal empire and low country later on this week. Our meteorologist Jamie Ertl joins us now with a look at the forecast. Jamie, we're going to see some rain, right?
Yes, we are, and our rainfall totals have increased as we head into our Thursday, possibly up to 2 inches of rain. And we are looking at the threat of that heavy rain being moderate to high. Large hail on the low end of the spectrum, 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts. Pretty positive that when those winds and storm line move through, we'll get those gusty, nasty winds, probably a severe storm or two, and that includes the risk of a tornadic. Just maybe 1 or 2 warned storms. Best timing now looks to be a little bit earlier than what we talked about yesterday, 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. And in fact, that could be bumped up again as this storm system is moving. In the meantime, a live look from our Riverfront Sky Cam, and we're going to see a pretty hazy but I would say bright sunset. Look at the temperatures kind of wobbling around the upper 60s as we head through the rest of the evening. Warm front lifts and we will see warm temperatures out the door tomorrow morning. Take a look at this, 60s to start the day and near 80 in the afternoon. Your first alert forecast in minutes.
Update on a story WTOC has been following since the very beginning. Governor Brian Kemp has signed a new law, one that supporters say would help Georgia municipalities handle unpermitted events. It's something that Tybee Island City Council started pushing for last year after Orange Crush event that brought thousands of people to the island. The bill also allows municipalities to hold promoters of those unpermitted events accountable for any damages or extra costs associated with additional public services. Now, we've been following the progress of this bill for months as it passed through the Senate and the House. It took about 1 month for Governor Brian Kemp to sign since it arrived at his desk. The city manager says they were eagerly anticipating this law.
We've been waiting for that to happen for several weeks now, so we were very happy to hear when the word finally came through that the governor had signed that bill. Knowing that this is now possible, we hope that it will make the promoters think twice before they begin to promote an event where they haven't coordinated with the city on all of the necessary services and received that permit.
We reached out to the promoter of the Orange Crush event to hear what he thinks about the bill. He has not responded yet. We are less than 2 weeks away from this year's expected Orange Crush event on Tybee Island. Coming up, Red Cross comes to the rescue of several people after a fire at a Savannah hotel. We'll give you more on how the nonprofit is helping those victims next. Plus, groups are meeting in the South Carolina State House to advocate for medical marijuana. We'll have more details on the future of that bill coming up in the Lowcountry. We have a breaking news update for you right now. Savannah police confirmed the scene WTOC has been covering on West 37th Connector started as a shooting on West Gwinnett Street. Officers say 2 people were taken from the scene to the hospital. They're expected to survive. Police say a 3rd victim from the shooting showed up at the hospital already on his own. WTOC will continue to bring you updates on this story as we get any new details. Well, take a look. The Hilton Head Fire Rescue recently released their 2023 annual report. Now, they broke down what kinds of calls they responded to for the entire year. We talked with the chief today about what these trends they're seeing in the data and what the department wants their community to take from the report.
Through trainings like Tuesdays and responses like the one to this mobile home fire last November, Hilton Head Fire Rescue's work is tracked year-round and compiled into an annual report. Chief Chris Blankenship says one of their focuses for last year was starting their community outreach program that they're continuing to boost now.
That is our big drive this year. We're trying to get out in the community more, do more community events, let our community know who we are and what we do.
On the more dangerous side of being out in the community, the report runs through all kinds of response data.
Our structure fires stay pretty consistent year over year. We run about 25 true structure fires a year. What we're seeing a trend is every year our EMS call volume is rising.
Chief Blankenship says those are the general year-over-year trends. In 2023, though, fires within a structure actually went down to 39 from 46 in 2022. He also has an idea as to why EMS volume rises.
Our population's aging. If you actually look in the annual report, you'll see that the majority of our EMS calls are 65 years and older.
You can see the numbers. Total emergency calls from those under 65 add up to 2,206, less than the total for just the 65 to 84 age group. Using last year's data to look forward, the chief says his department is about to move into its busiest season.
We're going to start to see a pickup. Heritage is going to be busy, as it is every year. We actually saw spring break this year. We saw a higher call volume, a lot of people on the island.
Well, right now, the American Red Cross is helping several people after a big motel fire last week in Savannah. You may remember it happened at the Red Roof Inn on Abercorn Street last Monday. A week later, many of the 70 victims still need assistance. Red Cross opened 31 cases and helped 61 people after the fire. The Chatham-Savannah Homeless Authority is also providing vouchers, and they say they helped more than 11,000 people recover from home fires across Georgia last year. State lawmakers will only be on the job in Columbia for another month, but before they head home for the year, and any business that they leave unfinished will die for the South Carolina state. Among the bills that sit in the balance right now is one of the most closely watched: medical marijuana legalization. State House reporter Mary Green shares what the future could be.
On Tuesday, a group including parents, veterans, nurses, and pharmacists gathered here at the State House, urging state representatives to take up the bill to legalize medical marijuana before lawmakers adjourn here next month for the rest of the year.
This is a classic example of the law and politicians interfering with what a physician and a patient thinks is in that patient's best interest. This bill is about medical freedom.
The bill, called the Compassionate Care Act, only allows for use in oils, salves, patches, and vaporizers, so smoking marijuana would still be illegal. A dozen medical conditions, including cancer, multiple sclerosis, and epilepsy, would qualify for a prescription, which doctors would need to approve in person, and only certain licensed pharmacies would be able to dispense the drug. The legislation has already passed in the Senate, but it's sat in the House for 2 months without getting a hearing to this point. If the bill doesn't get through the House in the next 5 weeks, it dies until at least next year.
I'm hoping that we don't spend all of our time and waste the rest of our valuable time this year on this subject. This bill puts in the infrastructure for a huge marijuana business in South Carolina.
This bill is assigned to the House 3M committee, chaired by Republican Celeste Davis. Davis told me she's in the process of forming a special committee of some fashion to take testimony on this bill, and she says she anticipates that'll get started before session ends here next month. Reporting from the State House, I'm Mary Green.
Coming up, it's warming up and one species is ready to make its return. Learn how you can avoid the upcoming cicadas invasion after this break.
And a live look now from our Tybee Island Sky Cam. A beautiful night for a beach walk. But we're tracking storms that'll reach beaches Thursday. First alert forecast after the break. Welcome back. I'm First Alert meteorologist Jamie Ertl, and we are looking at the Storm Predictions Convective Outlook for Wednesday. And it looks like a pretty dangerous situation for portions of western Alabama, Louisiana, and Mississippi. A moderate risk but a gorgeous weekend in store for the coastal empire and low country.
Thanks, Jamie. New at 7, another rare event is coming, but this one you'll have to look down to see it. Cicadas are emerging soon, and there could be more of them than the world has seen in 200 years. According to experts, some trillion cicadas will start appearing in May and live for about 6 weeks as part of a dual emergence. Now, for the first time since 1803, 2 specific groups of cicadas will appear at the same time. After they emerge, the males will start buzzing to find a mate, and the noise can be louder than a plane. The cicadas will eventually die off. It will be another 221 years before the two groups appear together again. We'll be right back. The sights from Augusta National and the Masters are often as familiar as they are scenic. New at 7, Tim Guidera shows us how some of the colors we expect to see during the tournament have come and gone because of a mild winter in Augusta.
Beautiful. It doesn't look real. Staying on TV for 30 years and get to actually be here walking around is pretty amazing.
Even if Augusta National is not entirely as expected this year.
A little bit, but it's still beautiful.
It is. The grass is greener than anything I've ever seen.
There will be an abundance of green at the 88th Masters, but some of Augusta's other signature colors will be subdued. A mild winter in the southeast brought an early bloom for many of the azaleas and dogwoods on the course, making for muted hues in what is usually the brightest spot.
I think they've passed their peak, yes. Yeah. So there are some back in the deep woods, but most of the ones that have had the exposure have come and gone already.
So one of the most popular spots on the course, the 13th green, is a little greener than usual. But patrons early in the week don't seem to mind at all.
You know what? It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter at all. There's enough to look at besides just the flowers, right? The golf course is unreal.
It's still beautiful. It is. Most people admire the grass more than anything, even so.
No, we made it down to the spot we had to come to.
Yeah. Amen corner.
A spot that was still an answered prayer for golf fans preserving the memory of seeing it, and one that will certainly play its classic role as one of the most important holes in the Masters.
It's just beautifully groomed, and it plays so beautifully too. So it's always interesting to watch the golf here.
Tim Guidera, WTOC News.